As Europe attempts to navigate the energy crisis, there are huge questions as to whether countries can secure new sources of fuel while staying true to climate targets. All of that against the backdrop of a cost of living crisis. Joining me now is Alessio Terzi. He is an economist and the author of the book Growth for Good. Alessio, great to have you with us. Thanks for being with us. When we think about climate change, I think there are some people who would argue that essentially capitalism got us to this point. Capitalism got us to a stage where the planet is rapidly heating up. So can we continue to operate within the confines of that system if we want to save the planet? What would you say to that?
Thanks for having me. What I try to argue in the book is that, capitalism has many negative sides to it, perhaps. But if there is one thing that it is good at, is that it is a good machinery to foster innovation. And this is something we're going to need a lot of in order to green our economy and to roll out new technologies. And so what I try to say is perhaps it is more useful, rather than dream of destroying the whole system, to try and think what is needed in order to reorient the system and enroll capitalism in our battle against climate change.
Well, Alessio, boy, as you say there, we are going to need that innovation very much so. But we've also got a situation where we've just seen US President Biden come back from Saudi Arabia, for example, with a request to pump more oil. European countries saying we don't want to cut off Russian gas. Germany looking at coal again. Do you think that these countries will get on board with the innovation, with the green transition in a timely fashion when they've got to deal with a cost of living crisis and looking their electorate in the face?
So perhaps against conventional wisdom, I would argue that the result of this energy crisis will actually be an acceleration in the green transition. And as you say, it might look strange right now because we are doing these things like reopening coal-fired power plants, and so climate despair would look natural. But I would argue that what is happening right now is that the polluting option, whether it is methane or whether it is gasoline, is becoming much more expensive, which makes the green option much more palatable. And so we will see a switch by consumers that accelerates. A year ago, I would have to try and persuade my friends to buy an electric car, and they would say it's much more expensive, I'll never get the money back. Right now, it is much cheaper to buy an electric vehicle, to drive an electric vehicle, than it is for the internal combustion engine option. And we're seeing governments as well invest or put much more money on the table for energy security reasons in renewables, because they want to sever the links with Russia and with let's say fossil fuels. So I would argue that if we go beyond the very short term, in the medium to long term, we will see an acceleration in the green transition.
Do you think this is a bit of a branding issue, even from governments then, for example, to sell these green alternatives? Because right now, when people are going through a cost of living crisis, you make the case there yourself very clearly in the long run about these kind of options being more affordable. But when people are trying to get to the end of the month, they're maybe just not seeing it that way. Do you think that governments need to do a better job at just selling that to electorates?
So I think there is part of a narrative problem in the sense that we frame the green transition as costs. It's more costly, it's the costlier option and so on. And there is nothing written in the stars that says that the green option must be the expensive option. So I think that there is a narrative problem there, but there is a reality, which you're hinting at, which is right now there is a cost of living crisis. And so, the energy crisis is not good. Is not a good thing, aside from the fact that there are obviously atrocities related to the war, but there are people that are having trouble making it to the end of the month, and it is going to be more challenging from a macroeconomic perspective. And so governments will have to intervene, help out those in need in the economy. It will be challenging. We will have to bring inflation under control. So there are challenges, and there are choppy waters ahead. But if we manage to go beyond the next few months, which will be tough, I think that there is a greener world ahead of us.
All right, challenges, but potentially also opportunities ahead. The message there from Alessio Terzi, an economist and the author of the book, as you can see there, Growth for Good. Pleasure to have you on, Alessio. Thank you.